Help me! Please! Help! Help! Help!
You think you know the ocean. You see the beautiful videos, the majestic creatures gliding through a peaceful blue world. But the ocean has a dark side, a side that is powerful, ancient, and utterly indifferent to your dreams. What you are about to hear is the story of a girl who thought she understood that world. She thought she had a special connection. The ocean proved her wrong in the most brutal way possible. Watch this until the end, because the lesson she learned might just save your life. Her name was Emily Carter, 26 years old, with eyes the color of a summer sea and a heart full of dangerous passion. She wasn't just a marine biology student from Seattle. She was a true believer. For Emily, orcas weren't killer whales. That was a misnomer, a branding mistake from centuries ago. To her, they were the ocean's soul, complex, intelligent, emotional beings trapped in a world that feared them. Her apartment was a shrine to them. Books on cetacean neurology were stacked next to stunning photographs of dorsal fins cutting through misty waters. Her dream wasn't just to study them, it was to know them, to be accepted, even for a moment, into their world. That obsession led her to a small, weathered boat in the San Juan Islands, a known haven for orcapods. The captain was a man named Reed. His face was a road map of sea salt and sun, his eyes holding the kind of caution that only comes from decades on the water. He'd seen 100 tourists like Emily, full of excitement and city-bred confidence, but there was a fever in her eyes that made him uneasy. That morning, the Pacific was like glass, but it was a strange, heavy stillness. The air was cold, biting. The gulls weren't diving. They were circling high above as if waiting for something to be over. "It's perfect," Emily breathed, pulling on her thick wetsuit, her movements quick and certain. Reed grunted, his gaze fixed on the sonar screen. "It's too quiet. When it's this quiet, it means the big boys are hunting. The seals know it. The birds know it." Emily just smiled, her excitement a shield against his warning. "They're gentle with people. There are no credible records of a wild orca tilling a human." She said it like a mantra, a scientific fact she held onto like a piece of scripture. Reed didn't argue. He just scanned the horizon. Then it happened. Not a pod, not a family group playfully breaching in the distance. Just one fin. It was enormous, taller than a man, and it cut through the water with zero wasted motion. It was a transient orca, a lone male, the kind that hunted sharks and whales for a living. "That's Shadow," Reed said, his voice low and serious. "As the big transient, he's not one of the friendly residents." Emily's breath caught in her throat. She didn't hear the warning in Reed's voice. She only saw the raw power, the wild perfection she had dreamed of. "I'm going in." "No, Emily, not with him. This is a bad idea." But she was already on the edge of the boat, her mask in place. "I'll just be a minute. I have to see him." Before Reed could stop her, she slipped over the side and into the frigid, dark blue water. The shock of the cold was instant and violent. It stole the air from her lungs. For a moment, there was only the sound of her own frantic heartbeat in her ears. Then she heard it. A series of high-pitched clicks and whistles. Echolocation. He was scanning her, figuring out what she was. Out of the deep green gloom, a shape emerged. It was like watching a locomotive materialize out of the fog. He was bigger than the boat, a mountain of black and white muscle, scarred from countless battles. His eye, black and intelligent, swiveled to look directly at her. In that moment, she felt a wave of pure, unadulterated awe. This was it, the connection she'd been searching for. She floated, trying to make herself small, non-threatening. Shadow circled her once, slow and deliberate. She could feel the pressure of the water he displaced. It was a gentle, curious pass. Emily's heart soared. He was accepting her. He understood. Then the feeling shifted. The clicks stopped. Shadow dipped his head and angled his body downward, picking up speed. He wasn't swimming away. He was positioning himself. Emily felt a primal knot of fear tighten in her stomach. This wasn't curiosity anymore. A rush of bubbles exploded from below, and the water around her began to churn. Before she could react, an immense force slammed into her from beneath. It wasn't a bite. It was a physical blow, like being hit by a car. The impact threw her upwards, sending her spinning through the water. Pain, sharp and electric, shot up her left leg. Her scream was swallowed by the ocean, coming out as a choked gurgle. From the boat, Reed saw her body fly a foot out of the water before crashing back down. "Emily!" His voice was a raw shout of terror. Underwater, Emily was disoriented, her vision blurred. The orca was playing with her, like a cat plays with a mouse. He nudged her again, this time with his tail fluke. The blow caught her in the ribs, and she felt a sharp, cracking sensation. Air exploded from her lungs. Panic set in. She was drowning. She clawed at the water, desperate for the shimmering surface just feet above. Shadow loomed below her, a dark promise of more to come. He wasn't trying to kill her, not yet. He was enjoying this, the chase, the power. Reed was in a frenzy on the boat, starting the engine, hoping the noise would scare the animal away. He grabbed a coil of rope and threw it toward her. "Grab the rope, Emily!" Her hand, numb and clumsy, reached for it. Just as her fingers brushed against the rough fibers, Shadow surged up again. This time, he grabbed her ankle in his mouth. The pressure was immense, but his teeth didn't break the skin. It was a hold, not a bite. He pulled her down into the crushing dark and the cold. 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet. Her lungs were on fire. Black spots danced in her vision. "This is how I die, killed by the one thing I loved." The irony was as cold as the water around her. Just as she was about to lose consciousness, the pressure on her ankle vanished. He let her go. With the last ounce of her strength, she kicked with her good leg, her body screaming in protest. She broke the surface, gasping, coughing up seawater, her sobs ragged and hysterical. Reed had maneuvered the boat closer. He grabbed her by the arm of her wetsuit and hauled. It felt like dragging a dead weight. She collapsed onto the deck, a shivering, broken mess. Her left leg was bent at an unnatural angle, her body a canvas of deep purple bruises already forming. "He was playing," she whispered, her voice hoarse. Reed looked at her, his face grim. "That's how they tenderize seals before they eat them," he said flatly. The words hit her harder than any physical blow. She wasn't a fellow creature to be understood. She was an object, a toy, prey. The ride back to shore was a blur of pain and shame. At the hospital, the diagnosis was severe. A shattered ankle that would require multiple surgeries, 3 broken ribs, a partially collapsed lung, severe hypothermia. She would live, but a part of her had died in that water. The story exploded in the news. The woman who swam with a killer. The footage from a tourist boat nearby went viral. It showed her small, helpless form being tossed around by the giant creature. The world debated, was she a fool? Was she brave? Was the animal a monster? For months, Emily battled nightmares. She would wake up in a cold sweat, feeling the phantom pressure on her ankle, hearing the high-pitched clicks in the dark. The ocean she had once loved now felt like a giant waiting mouth. The recovery was slow, painful, and humbling. A year later, Emily stood in front of a university lecture hall. She walked with a noticeable limp. She was no longer the wide-eyed student. Her eyes held the same caution she had once ignored in Captain Reed. She told the silent room, "We look at them and we see intelligence, and we assume that intelligence must be like ours, that it must lead to empathy, to gentleness." She paused, gesturing to her leg. "But their intelligence is ancient. It's wild. It's the intelligence of a perfect predator. We can love them, we can respect them, we can fight to protect them, but never ever make the mistake of thinking you are one of them, because the ocean does not care about your good intentions. It only cares about survival." Emily Carter survived her encounter with Shadow. But the naive girl who slipped into the water that day never came back. She was left behind in the cold, dark deep, a final offering to the god she once worshipped.
The truth is often more terrifying than fiction. If you appreciate stories that expose the raw, unfiltered truth, hit that like button right now.
And make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our next descent into the darkness. Let us know in the comments, was Emily brave or foolish? We want to know what you think.